Welcome to Coach Grid. Today we are going to be talking about your ideal client, why that really matters to your business. Kirsten, excited to be here with you today. Ideal coaching clients. What's kind of been your experience, I guess, in that realm with the people that we've worked for and worked with thus far?
About determining what that is.
What that is, or do they have them when they show up and they're talking to us?
I think, we typically have people fill out a form just to get their wheels turning about who that is, and they'll come up with something, but it's generally not the person that we end up with at the end of the session.
Absolutely. This is a place where I think a lot of times you can create a great offer, you can create a great program, you can create all the systems and all the tech and all the things that make your business work. And if you're not talking to the right person, or if you don't understand the person that you're talking with, it can still really fall flat. So some of the clients that we've worked with, they've come in and they've built some really amazing things. Mm-hmm. But when we start asking them who they're working with, the people that they're working with aren't people that can help them grow their business. Mm-hmm. So the idea of finding your ideal client is understanding who it is that you're helping, first of all. And most of the time when we're talking to people, we encourage them to imagine themselves several years ago, mm-hmm. or right before they discovered the thing that they now coach on. Right. What did that person need? Who is that person? And so for those of you that are here watching this right now, if you have something that you're coaching on and this is the thing that I'm about, go back in your own mind and think, who was I right before I got this? What did I need? And those are some of the questions that I want to talk about today.
Yeah. And I would even say to go as far as pause the video, take a second and really close your eyes and remember who that person was and how did it feel in real time in that past self, because there's so much data there.
Yeah. And because oftentimes you've done so much work, you forget what you know. And you start to take a lot of that stuff for granted, and things that maybe you've now been practicing for 3 or 4 years. When you do that exercise and go back and really remember you think, oh, I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to make that happen in my life. And this is something that I see over and over again in clients is they constantly undervalue what it is they do because they're now so good at it. And when you can go back and start doing that, you realize that talking to people about that is immensely valuable.
Yeah.
So some of the questions that we'll ask our clientele when we're trying to identify their clientele, we'll start by saying really simple things like, how do they spend their days? And these might seem like really simple, kind of childish questions. But an example of this for me is I worked a lot with men. And I worked with middle-aged men. And the thing that I was doing at the time was I was saying, hey, there's a free conversation that you can have with me, a free consultation. And I was talking with a mentor, and he said, who do these men talk to? And I remember telling him, nobody. And he just looked at me for a second. And he said, and what do you offer? I said, I offer them a free opportunity to talk, which is the exact thing they don't want to do.
Right.
And all of a sudden I had this huge aha moment of I'm appealing to my right clientele in the very wrong way.
Right.
And he said, okay, so how do they get information? Well, they get information on YouTube and they get information through podcasts. So I started changing where I was delivering my message, and I started finding the people that wanted to work with me in those spaces.
Right.
So that question, and really simple questions. How old were you before you got into the thing that you're doing right now? Was it something that came to you organically? Was it born out of crisis, which oftentimes is the case? I was failing in my business and I didn't know what I was doing here. And so I went and found this program and it changed everything in my business. Okay. Why were you failing in your business? What was the pain point? Was it that you didn't understand marketing? Was it that you didn't understand the economy? And when you understand that, you can start talking to your clients about that exact thing.
Right. And I think the thing that we have to be careful of when you're thinking back to what was my problem is not filtering it through your current lens of what you know the problem was now that you're past it, but looking back and saying, what did I think the problem was? Because I know for myself, I'm like, well, my problem is that just nobody understands, like if people would just take a second and listen, or if they would just come do a session, then they would understand and then they would buy. But at that point, I'm like, well, my problem is something completely different.
Yeah. And that's that value of being able to look backwards and see it from a higher, more elevated version of yourself.
Yeah.
Like, now.
My version now is like, well, you're laying in bed. Of course, nobody's finding you. Like you posted once this week and it was like 15 seconds and there was no hook on it. And like there were so many things wrong that wasn't just the people didn't understand or they didn't want to listen or the algorithm or whatever things I made it to be. Right.
Which is a really valuable point, because then what you're going to say, and this is oftentimes what we talk with our clients about, is you're going to give them what they want and then give them what they need. Mm-hmm. So on the front end, they might want somebody to say, are you not, getting the right hook? Are people not understanding how amazing you are and speaking to the problem you thought you had? And then once they're in the system, you work with them and you help them understand really how they're able to change some things about themselves to make it different. Mm-hmm. So you give them what they want because you understand what they want. And then you give them what they need because you understand what they need.
And you're asking all of these questions that we're going to go through the what do they want frame of mind.
Yeah. Really simple questions like that one I just asked. Who do they talk to?
Yeah.
Where do they spend their time? If they're spending their time on TikTok and you're on Instagram, or if they're spending their time on YouTube and you're on Facebook, well, you're not going to find them. And so it's being able to understand them. Best way to understand them, talking to them, talking to the people that you believe would be your ideal clients. And I remember doing this myself. I put out a post across my social medias and I said, hey, I would love to do some market research and better understand this type of person. And it wasn't a sales pitch. I told them I wasn't pitching anything. As a matter of fact, I gave them something for free. And I said, I just want to talk to you and pick your brain about some things. And people were really excited to talk about what they were experiencing. Mm-hmm. And then I went in and started talking to them and said, where do you spend your time? How do you spend your mornings? How do you spend the last 2 hours of your day? And the information that I got was marketing gold.
Yeah.
Because I now started to understand this person in a way that I hadn't before. And the message that I shared, it started to make sense again, why it hadn't been landing up to that point. When you're doing that with them, you don't want to have it be interrogatory. You want it to be very conversational. Mm-hmm. What's going on in your life? What are your biggest challenges right now? Where are the places where you're spending your time? Where are the places that you feel like you're spending money you don't want to spend? And being able to ask as many of those types of questions as possible. Mm-hmm. What do you feel like the world doesn't understand about you? What do you feel like is unfair in the world right now?
Yeah.
Those are all questions that give you a lot of really amazing information that most people are assuming. Mm-hmm. And when you're assuming that, again, it's really hard to position your message to capture those people.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're able to shift that message about the ideal client, you start to say, you know what, the people that are 25 years old that I've talked to, they're probably not my people for whatever reason, because of the answers they gave me. And the people that are 35 really seemed interested in what it was that I did. So that's awesome. That's really important. I thought that, talking to men that were fathers was going to make a big deal in my business. Come to find out it doesn't. So I can shift some of my messaging that way as well. One of the most important things that we run across with clients is you might, for example, you might be a resume coach. Mm-hmm. You help them write their resumes.
Yeah.
And I worked with somebody on this in the past and I said, yeah, I'm a resume coach. I help people write their resumes. I don't know why I can't make any money. Well, as we talked about it, generally the people that are writing resumes don't have a job. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a job, you don't have money. how can you afford to hire a coach if you don't have money? And so we shifted her message and we went and started going to schools and companies and Job Corps and places like that and worked with them. And they started paying her so that she could work with people to improve their resumes and still make the money that she needed to make.
Yeah.
But it's being able to understand that in the market that you're in. Do the people have money to buy the thing that you want to sell them?
Yeah. That's a really good question.
And if they don't, does that mean that you have to stop doing it? Maybe. But it also just might mean that you need to pivot to find the people that will pay for that to help those people.
Right.
And that exists. That lady is a perfect example with the resume writing. She found the people that did value that did need that, and that were willing to pay her for that to happen.
Yeah. Well, I remember we had a client that wanted to work with like young adults, teenage, they're out of the house and they're just starting to move and they're trying to go to those people directly, when we realized that the pivot that she needed to make was to go to their parents, who were like, please just get out of the house, get out of my basement. And the parents were super happy to pay any amount of money to help their kids thrive and succeed. And sometimes it's, just a really subtle shift.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the people that are watching this right now, if you don't know who your ideal client is, if you can't really easily and quickly answer that question, that's probably a good sign that this is a thing that you need to start going through. And because you know your market, because you know more about those people, take a second, write down a list of 8, 9, 10 questions that you'd want to ask. That information will become like gold as you continue to build your business. And it's going to save you a lot of time and a lot of heartache, kind of barking up trees that don't have anything at the top of them for you. You can find the ones where they're actually people that are excited about what it is that you do and want to do it with you. So thank you for being here today. If you want help finding your ideal client, if this has resonated with you, you can find us at Instagram at CoachGrid or at CoachGrid.com.